Well, welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn. Russell Jackman is off today. At each commercial break, we are going to ask a sports trivia question, and this one's going to be kind of tough. Best of the best Baseball Hall of Fame. Since we're getting into spring training, baseball's right around the corner. We got to get into some baseball. Besides, Russell's in here, and he's a big basketball fan. So, we'll come back to that later at some point. So something I wanted to point out, we'll just point this out in the beginning, and I mentioned this before, but it looks like it's coming a little bit more to the forefront. Olympic champion Caster Semenya is having to fight to compete to the European Court of Human Rights, and she's the woman who naturally just happens to have higher testosterone than a lot of
middle distance runner?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And they want to prevent her from competing in Tokyo unless she agrees to medical interventions to lower her testosterone. I mean, the whole big thing about like steroids, you're not supposed to do things to enhance yourself. How could they do this to someone who just naturally has that talent? It's like saying, oh, LeBron, you just naturally play basketball better. So from now on, you got to play with one hand tied behind your back.
Well, this is all I can think about, and we can get into as the show progresses, is that this may be like an IOC thing. They operate separate under their own rules that they can kind of create on the fly. I don't know.
I get it if the person was, used to be a man, or if she, was taking enhanced drugs. Okay, I get that. But if it's just a natural situation, nobody ever told Yao Ming you got to play Yao Ming play on your knees because you just happen to be too tall, or Manute Bol, right? All right, we'll get into that. Okay. This segment of Sports Econ 101 sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 7.5%. Still, that's pretty good in today's market. Secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Vern Glenn. So I don't know how much more we need to talk about Caster Semenya, who is being discriminated against because she has too much testosterone. Which, what did they do? She was just outrunning everybody, and they go, let's test her for drugs.
Well, everybody gets tested. Everybody, for lack of a better way of saying it, everybody pees in a cup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so I think through that you can break down the fluids and figure out like what is in there, and for whatever reason, she was born with an unusual high level of testosterone, and so if memory serves, event by event that she competes in, she herself has to get tested for these levels of testosterone before she's allowed to compete. And it's an ongoing issue.
Again, I get the idea of testing in case you're putting foreign substances in your body. That makes sense. And whether they go, between that event and that event, I wonder if she took any drugs. Okay, I kind of get that too. But the idea of I don't get I would think that all the other women competitors would be a little embarrassed to have to make her, like, the rules are, okay, you've got to take lowering testosterone type.
Here's the thing: we're dealing with multiple countries, multiple theories, ideas, opinions, and these belong to people that are in positions of power that dictate policy. And so it's the Olympics. It's a worldwide thing. If a certain faction of this IOC committee says we're going to have to do this because we're getting too many complaints from other countries, then they're just going to have to do this. Otherwise, she'll be unable to compete. And it's not like this may be unprecedented with the levels of testosterone, but I'm sure in the history of the Olympic Games there have been other issues that have come into play where the IOC has to come in and say, well, we have to adjust and augment this so this athlete can come in and compete.
Well, I get it. Like, remember the golfer who had a problem walking?
Yes.
I can't remember. Is it Justin somebody, I think?
No,
I can't remember his name.
Casey Martin, I believe is his
Casey,
name,
yeah, that's right.
who played,
And
who I believe played with Tiger at Stanford,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
and then later was a collegiate golf coach. I forget the college, but
So I see both sides. That they wanted to adjust, and that wasn't in the Olympics. If I don't remember, I remember it wasn't the Olympics; it was pro golf. But I mean, I kind of get the idea of hey, this guy has a specific handicap, so we need to adjust for him. But that being said, what they really could have done is just allowed all the other golfers to use a cart, because that was the whole idea. He couldn't walk very well, and it was just too tiring.
He was born with this. He was born with with this physical ailment, and that led him unable to walk the entire 18 holes without pain. And so that's so in order for him to play and compete in some of these events, he was provided a medical card.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, and I think we talked about this last week too. If you're going to have like transgender athletes, why don't they have their own? That's a whole separate thing. But why don't they have their own Olympics or their own competition? Because it's unfair to women's sports to have men who are naturally stronger, and faster.
Well, then we're getting to a gray area. If we want to go back to Jim Crow, well, let's just have the blacks have their own baseball league, and then you know what I mean? It's just not. It's not.
No, but that's based on. I mean, that's based on race. I mean, I don't. That doesn't sound good. But
based on
men
race,
and women.
Based on race, but if we use the theory that the AOC is using, well, this person has competitive edge because they have more testosterone, whereas back then the thinking was the white athlete is so much superior, so we're gonna have it's
so funny because actually
we just get into just a whole storm of controversy there.
I mean, because if you go along those lines, I'm just laughing because I'm thinking it appears the generalization is the opposite for basketball, right? I mean, the theory in most what do they call it when you just generalize over everybody? These kinds of people are this way, these kinds of people are this way. You would think that the white athletes would say, that's unfair. These black athletes are just naturally more gifted in basketball, so we got to have our own separate league or something. I mean,
well, there was a time when the NBA was segregated.
True, but I don't think it was more of a prejudicial thing than it was. Gee, white athletes are more gifted or bad. That's a whole different animal. And speaking of Tiger, it's strange. We did the show last Tuesday, and we didn't know at the time that Tiger had gotten into that car accident. So by the time our show aired, it seemed like, how come these guys aren't talking about?
How could they not address? Yeah. Well, there's the fly in the ointment of pre-taping the show.
Pre-taping the show, yeah.
Breaking news can happen. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess we could do we interrupt these programs to give you this. So what's the prognosis now? I mean, this was no little accident.
Well, here's what we know as we record this show. Obviously, there was the incident. He was injured. We know those details. He was taken to that UCLA hospital. He's now been transferred to another hospital. He's apparently in good spirits.
Okay.
Is deeply touched by the
outpouring
of support for him. In fact, there was a golf tournament in Florida where the likes of Rory McIlroy wore the Sunday red Nike shirt that Tiger always wears, usually when he's in contention, but now he just wears it on the final round of an event that he plays. So a lot of these guys, whether you're Rory McIlroy or whether you're Justin Thompson, these guys, as kids, Tiger was their guy.
Yeah, sure.
And now he's fallen. What I personally would like, I would like to see Tiger walk again. That's what I want to see. Let alone swing a golf club again. I mean, we're talking about a potentially life-changing incident that occurred. And the early investigation returns are because there were no skid marks, the theory was that he possibly could have fallen asleep. I don't really buy that, but and just bam, just had that impact that was just so.
Yeah, because they say there were no alcohol or drugs. They didn't say that.
No. The report was that he was late. He was running late for a golf shoot with Drew Brees and Justin Herbert, who is the quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers. And because he was late,
and that's an area apparently it's a very dangerous area apparently.
On a
like a sunny day,
very famous, dangerous part of road in that part of Los Angeles County.
Wow. All right. Hey, we're going to cut to our first commercial trivia question here. Best of the best Baseball Hall of Fame. Keep your ears tuned in on this one. You ready?
Okay.
Who was the first player ever inducted into the Hall of Fame after he died?
After he died.
All right. That's our trivia question. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. See if you know the answer to this one. Talking Baseball Hall of Fame. Who was the first player ever inducted into the Hall of Fame after he died? All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101.
Posthumously. Okay.
Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Russell's not here. Vern here. I sometimes name him first. Vern Glenn. So who was the first player ever inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame after he died?
Well, I'm going to answer the question with a question.
Okay.
All right. So the name of this person in terms of famous o-meter, with 10 being extremely famous, where does this player rank?
I'd say 9.
9. Wow. Okay. All right. 9. Okay.
Maybe the next thing is guess his position.
Wow.
Again, first player ever inducted into the Hall of Fame after he died.
After he died. Wow.
3, 2, 1. He was a pitcher.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a guess.
Okay, go ahead.
Christy Mathewson.
Bing, ding, 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 ding. That is correct, right?
That was just a pure guess.
Really? Was it really?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You got to think about it. He was one of the first 5. He had died in 1925, I believe, because of chlorine gas from World War One.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was his. Everything was cut short because of that. Back then, that's the Germans used to use chlorine gas.
So besides Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb, who were the other members of that first Hall of Fame class?
Walter Johnson and Honus Wagner. There you go.
Okay.
First 5. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. It's funny because some guys came afterward, like Cy Young, and you go, oh yeah, that's right. I mean, he was. I think it was 1939.
And without knowing the format of, the Hall of Fame class, how do they? Because I don't recall seeing any kind of on-camera speeches by Babe or by Ty Cobb. Accepting,
that's a good point.
Type ceremony.
You only have the 1939 Lou Gehrig, luckiest man on the face of the earth. That was
that was on his the day they retired. But that's true. Baseball Hall of Fame speeches. I
don't remember hearing.
And the one time I went to Cooperstown, I don't remember seeing something like that even on display.
I don't think so.
Obviously, there was an exhibit, but I don't remember seeing an archive.
No, it was crazy. I used to. It's so frustrating because I lent this book to my sister, never got it back. She can't remember where it is, and it had all kinds of really cool memorabilia. And one of them I still remember was a picture, and I think it was in 1940 something, and they had like all of these old timer, like Honus Wagner looks like he's 70 years old, and they had and boom, Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth and all in one picture, and it was just like, and Cy Young was in it too. It's just crazy.
I would love to have a picture of the Christian Matheson had passed, but I would love to have a picture of the surviving first Hall of Fame class. That would be a great picture to have.
Well, I think kind of that's what it was, but they sort of they added a couple more people like Cy Young and all that, which again I still
from subsequent classes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think that's the if I had to pick one baseball record that I think just won't be broken, it would be the Cy Young 511 wins. I mean, think about
a lot of wins.
Can you imagine?
And we can get into that. I don't know if you have pitching and stuff like that. That these spring training rules in your rundown for the show, but that's definitely something that I think is fairly interesting. These 7-inning games, these first few weeks of spring training, the pitch count, the 20 pitch count. No matter where you are in the game, in the spring training game, you hit 20, you're coming out, and that's to protect the pitcher.
That's just like, and that's okay. I mean, it's only spring training, and it's probably a good idea. It's just like,
I had read, some of these teams, they might have 80 some odd people in camp. Half of them are pitchers, and so they have to look at each and every one of them in a situation. So that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And again, you're not talking about the regular season, so. Listen, in spring training, and I've been to spring training a bunch of times, and it's just, they're playing, and the players, especially if they're trying to get a roster spot, But the rest of them, I mean, it's just enjoyable fun in the beautiful weather and all that. In fact,
whether it's Cactus League or Grapefruit League, it doesn't matter.
And do you know who started the spring training? The whole idea about spring training?
The idea of spring training? No.
Someone we both don't like as a human being. Cap Anson.
Really?
Cap Anson, actually, because kid from Chicago and all that, too cold, so they'd fly over. They would train, I guess, back then down to Florida, maybe even Georgia. And
the Cubs originally trained on the island of what's the little island off the coast of Los Angeles? Catalina. Island. That's where they used to train.
It's funny. I'm trying to think of. I've been to Catalina. I'm trying to think of where it's big enough to set up a baseball field.
There's an area. If you walk to the top of Catalina, like the hills, there's a large grassy area, and that area was where they actually trained and played games.
Really, it's funny.
I've been to Catalina Island twice. The first time, I obviously took the tour, and so when it came up that the Wrigley family owned the island.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's where they would take that team to train. Now, I don't know how many years that they were there, but that's where they went.
Yeah, just take a boat and there you are.
Yeah. How the fact that we have fans back in the stands now, albeit 2,700 of the Yankee games.
Yeah.
Less than 1,000 at like the Giants games. A couple of thousand maybe at the A's games, but they're. They're bringing it back. I mean, it's different. You got to wear a mask supposedly the whole time that you're in there. But
I wonder how long that's going to go on for. I guess
nothing.
Until the CDC basically says, "Okay, we're done with the masks." Herd immunity or whatever. I mean, it can't go on.
Well, I think maybe as these vaccines become more widespread.
Yeah, but they're still saying you got to wear a mask even with the vaccine.
Yeah, it's true.
So Alabama is planning on allowing a full stadium next year, and they can seat 101,000 fans.
Yeah.
So
at Bryant Denny Stadium, Tuscaloosa, that is a gigantic stadium. Yeah,
that's pretty amazing. Wow. J.J. Watt, ever heard of him?
The Watt brothers. There's 3 of them in the NFL. Yeah.
So he's going to the Cardinals. Alex Smith out of Washington. It's kind of sad because he was, comeback player of the year. But it kind of makes sense for the Washington football team. It saves them like $14 million. Smith is 37 years old. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I do have a comment, and it's rather sad, but these are the kind of the economics, Sports Econ 101 of it all, and we're now living. When I say we, not that I'm an NFL exec, but these teams are living in restructure or release, because the cap number just is a killer to these teams. And in the case of J.J. Watt, he didn't want to be part of a rebuilding process with the Texans. So he wanted to be granted his release. He wanted a chance to, 10 years in the league, wanted a chance to go and play for a team that can contend to win. Yeah. And so I heard the Packers, I heard the Bills, and then here come the Arizona Cardinals. Signed him 2 years, $31 million, 23 guaranteed. And
not bad.
From the insiders, that's $23 million is about $6 million more than they would expect that he would get in guaranteed money. So Arizona had the money. They gave it to him. He took him. God bless him. He's no longer, this is my opinion, he's no longer a 60, 65 play a game guy. He's more of a 38 to 40 play guy. Where you come him off the edge, but you got him on one side, you got Chandler Jones on the other.
Yeah.
If I'm say Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers, I'm re-signing Trent Williams. I need a tackle because these guys are going to be flying off the edge. And although J.J. Watt's not the same J.J. Watt that he was when he came into the league, he's still
he's a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly.
And I like the way, very classy, the way he thanked Houston. He just was very, very professional.
And I also think it was classy, and I think it was cool by him that he himself revealed the news on his Twitter.
Yeah.
It wasn't Ian Rappaport. It wasn't Adam Schefter. No. It was J.J. Watt going, source, me.
Yeah, exactly.
Arizona Cardinals.
And I mean, he's one of those guys where it's like you don't ever hear any bad things about him. He's a good, all-around good guy. He comes from Wisconsin, right?
Midwestern, with Wisconsin guy, raised right, good parents, obviously talented family with
three of them.
Can you imagine having three sons in the NFL?
Well, actually, here locally, there were six brothers and one girl in the family. One played in the USFL and the NFL. The other one was going to go to the NFL. Another one did, and the dad, I think, maybe had a short stint. Interesting. Okay, here is the second trivia question. Talking baseball Hall of Fame, best of the best. Who was the first player inducted into the Hall of Fame that had played as a designated hitter also? It's kind of a stupid way to put this, but basically, he normally was not just a designated hitter, okay? But by the time the rules
was a position player, but he primarily is known as a designated hitter?
No, he's primarily known as a player, but he also was a designated hitter.
He's the first designated hitter enshrined in the Hall of Fame.
I guess that's basically a good way. That's basically, yeah. Who's the first player inducted in the Hall of Fame that had also played as a designated hitter?
So right? we know it's an American League guy. We know that.
Exactly. Okay, all right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown along with Vern Glenn. Who was the first player inducted into the Hall of Fame that had also been a designated hitter at one point in his life? Which you would think that would, for him, it most likely was, toward the end of his career, like a lot of players.
Is this guy a World Series champ?
Yes.
Okay. Won a World Series.
Yeah.
Okay.
He played in both leagues.
Played in both leagues.
Yes. But he did the designated hitting in the American League. All right. I'm going to give you a huge hint.
All right. I have a guess.
Okay. And I'll tell you right now, I never thought of him ever being a designated hitter, but it makes sense for the number of years he played toward the end of his career. But go ahead. Who are you thinking?
Frank Robinson.
Yes. Very good.
Wow.
And the hint I was going to give you was he won MVP in both leagues. Let's see. Who's the only guy who's done that?
I have a great Frank Robinson story.
Go ahead.
This is Frank Robinson, who was an MVP in the National League with the Reds and in the American League with the Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, sir.
But years later, I'm just like this young reporter. I just started working in Baltimore. This is 1988. Frank Robinson had just taken over for Cal Ripken Sr. as manager of the Orioles. I believe the Orioles started off 0-6, maybe 0-7. Then they made the managerial change. The Orioles continued to lose. They lost like their first 21, 22 games.
Yeah.
Okay. So they bring in Frank, and they have a media availability. And so I'm showing up there and in the clubhouse at Memorial Stadium. And I go, Frank, hey, you got a couple of minutes for a quick little interview. And so I don't know if you've ever met Frank, but
No.
he is tall, he is large, he is an intimidating man. Okay. And so and there's, I mean, there are long documented outbursts between him and players, especially when he was managing the Cleveland Indians. He's just short tempered. All right. So we start the interview. I'm nervous as heck. And the first thing out of my mouth is, well, Coach, as you look at this team, stop me. I go, manager. I go, oh, yeah, of course, manager. So we get the camera rolling again. And I go, yeah, alongside, yeah, is Coach Frank Robinson. And Frank, hey, manager. I go, oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm rattled. I'm like, I've effed up a couple of times. I'm sure my cameraman's thinking, okay, who is this guy? This is kid from Richmond, Virginia. Jeez. Anyway, so anyway, we got the camera rolling. I called him Coach again, and he went off on me. I wish I had the tape. He just went. I think the camera stopped recording. He went off. It just and I don't know if the audience out there remembers the screaming comedian Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
Just went manager, damn it. If you're going to be in the big leagues, you better act like that. Oh, wow.
And I'm sure you could tell you were really nervous. He must have. I mean, it's not like you're kind of being snotty with him or anything. No.
They say, dogs report, they can smell fear.
Yeah.
He can smell fear. So we finally do this interview. Okay, fourth take. I get through it. Okay, and I'm leaving with the cameraman out of the clubhouse. And as I go to the door, I kind of look at the back, and there's Frank in the back, and our eyes met, and he just kind of winked at me.
That's great.
like I got you, Rook. And from that point forward, I could not do any wrong. And Frank, I was Frank's guy.
But I'm sure that you did remember to call him manager that one.
No. One time he got tossed out of a game, and I don't know if you ever been to Memorial Stadium, but it's very old. Okay, it's very cramped conditions, and the manager's office is really small. It's maybe a fourth of the size of the office you're in right now.
Wow.
So there's all of us in there as he's about to explain why he got tossed and what happened. He's got a styrofoam cup of coffee on the table in front of him. He goes like this, going, okay, I'm ready. We all lean forward, and my arm knocks over the cup of coffee in his lap just as he's about to start. And he gave me this look. He gave me this look like, I don't know if the audience, he gave me this look like,
kind of wincing.
yeah.
How hot was it? How hot was the coffee?
It was hot, I guess. and he just went, Vern, go give me a towel out of the bathroom. But I cleaned up the
I cleaned up the
and I did, and he just went on. And then subsequently, when he worked for the league and he would like tour spring trainings, and he'd come out to Scottsdale, either the Giants or the A's, where I was working for Cron at the time, and I reminded him of that story, and he just laughed. Who, me? Yeah. So that's my Frank Robinson story.
I got to say that for all the aggression you always hear about him, he didn't get that upset with you about the coffee. He teased you about the manager versus coach thing. So it's actually a nice kind of a fun human side to him. He was definitely. I remember in the '60s and then the early '70s, just he was one of those guys that just, loved, like I mean, not just a hair under Willie Mays, just watching him and just going, man, he just he loved when he came up to bat. I mean, he's obviously a very good fielder too, but you generally, when you're watching a game, you're not looking at the fielders kind of go, oh, is he going to make a play this time? But just to watch him play, just to hit the ball, run. I mean, again, he was very, very similar to a Willie Mays that way.
Yeah, and I'm looking it up because I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, another Bay Area guy went to McClymonds High School.
Yeah, he was local.
Yeah.
So, back to football for just a minute. They're talking the 49ers are maybe looking to get Teddy Bridgewater. Is kind of the talk around town.
My unconfirmed sources say that they reached out to him.
Yeah.
To come in to be a backup quarterback. He certainly he's young-ish enough. He checks the boxes. He's mobile, and you got to be mobile if you're going to run Shanahan's offense. So I can see, but you know what? Behind the scenes, all of these reach out to people that.
Well, the question is it to be trading Garoppolo, or is it going to be push Garoppolo to
here's the question. I mean, who are you going to trade him to? Who's going to take on that contract? That's $20 million.
Is that how much Garoppolo's playing?
Yes. I mean, that's it's a heavy price to pay. I can only think of two teams that would even think about taking that on. One is New England, and the other is Chicago, where he's from.
Yeah.
He goes to Chicago. I mean, he will sell tickets in Chicago. He will sell tickets in New England. Not that they have a massive ticket problem, but here's the thing. All this talk we've been doing about Jimmy Garoppolo. It'd be nice to hear from the 49ers. I haven't seen him on the record. Have you? I haven't seen him make one comment.
No.
And so, and here's the 49ers world, because I've seen it. They live in their own bubble. They don't want to, they don't really pay attention much to, current events, things happening, a fire in the hills and all, they don't pay attention to that. It is just football and just their team, how they can improve their team. So it could be we could have a press conference, where John Lynch and Shanahan, they're up there. I mean, and they could just be like, "What do you mean? We never heard that. Garoppolo's a quarterback. Like what? Wait, what are you talking about? Yeah,
he is until he isn't.
I've seen it.
Gotcha. Hey,
I just don't think like a fan does.
No, that's a good point. Hey, a quick thing about LeBron James settling a lawsuit with a photographer of a photo that he used of himself without getting permission from the photographer. What I don't understand is if someone takes a picture of me and I haven't authorized it, I don't know the situation with this photographer. If is he allowed to just photograph anybody? What's his licensing and all that stuff. But I'm thinking, if I'm LeBron, why can't I just if it's a picture of me? How come I can't have access to my own photo, just because someone took it of me? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm unfamiliar. I'm unfamiliar with what the story is.
So there's this really nice picture of LeBron. I think he's going up for a dunk, and it is a very, very nice picture. And LeBron,
this is a photograph taken of him by a professional photographer courtside of him dunking a game, presumably for the Lakers. Right?
Yeah, I don't know enough about the photographer, but if you look at the picture, it looks like it probably is from courtside. And he just kind of took the picture and he kind of posted it, and he did some comment about it. And so the photographer, that's my photo. You can't do that. And
maybe it was the comment. What was the comment?
No. It's just I can't remember specifically, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't like he was going to, this is now my logo for the rest of my life or anything. It was just kind of a comment. sort of in passing, and you have to take a look at it. But the thing I don't get is, I understand everybody wants to make a living and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like I'm taking that photo and trying to make money off of it. This is a picture of LeBron. How come he can't own a picture of himself, type of thing? You know what I mean? But somehow he settled with him. It doesn't say how much he had to pay him. But there's something that I'm kind of sort of missing on that. If I take a picture of you and you want to use that photo, you should be able to use that photo, unless I have a specific agreement with you.
So here's it's a mid-December Lakers Heat game.
Okay.
James drove to the hoop, blew past his defender, Jimmy Butler. James leaped in the air. Powerful dunk, as you said.
Yeah.
NBA's YouTube channel has nearly 10-minute highlight reel of the game.
Okay.
Dunks at the 4:11 mark.
No. But just the idea, again, of who owns the photo, right? I get the photographer owns the photo, but at least the guy who he takes a picture of should have some say in the matter. Hey, why don't you think about that? We got to get to our next.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Okay, but now this one's a really hard one, all right?
Okay.
Who was the first player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame as a catcher?
Ooh, first catcher.
Yeah. You have to go back. You have to go back in time before Yogi Berra.
Before Yogi Berra.
Before Johnny Bench.
Well, Johnny Bench was
afterwards.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right. That's
first catcher.
First catcher.
Oof.
He was the first player inducted into the Hall of Fame as a catcher. And he also played other positions, but you wouldn't really think of him as any specific. You've probably heard the name, at least put it that way. Probably.
I've probably heard the name.
That's right.
So that means there's a chance that I may have never. Okay.
Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn. Third trivia question was a tough one. Who was the first player inducted into the Hall of Fame as a catcher? I always thought he was a pitcher myself, and he probably was. I think this guy actually played all 9 positions, but they're giving him credit for because he played at least one time as a catcher.
Oh, so he wasn't primarily known as a catcher.
I don't think so. I thought he was. I personally thought he was known as a pitcher, but I could be wrong. It's someone you're talking. Okay, let's put it this way: you have to go back to the 1800s. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I don't have a white flag, but if
yes, right.
I'm waving it. I don't.
That's a tough one. Buck Ewing. You ever heard of Buck Ewing?
No.
Okay. So that's why I said you probably. You have to go back in time to.
I'm guessing Pat Ewing, not a descendant.
No, probably not, because this is the 1800s. Yeah, I don't think so, unless there's been time after. Yeah.
Right.
All right, you ready for our puns for the day?
Oh, give it to me, Daddy.
You like these puns? Okay. Why do ambassadors never get sick? Diplomatic immunity. That's a good one.
Nice.
Okay. And the quieter you become, the more you're able to hear. That's actually not a pun, but all right. And
I think my wife may have raised that a time or two.
Yeah, sure, mine too.
Yeah.
And not saying I live in a rough area, but I just bought an advent calendar and half the windows were boarded up. I like that one.
Very
all right.
nice.
Thank you, my friend, again for joining us. As always, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. Hopefully, Mr. Jackman will be with us. And we'll also be asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.